What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what shorts did today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO did show some signs of life, went up 1.9%, 490 the low, 519 the high, and 38 million shares being traded. So still fairly low volume. Coming from the American side, we did have some negative data, and so that was initial jobless claims coming in at 236, forecast of 205. From China, there wasn't any data points that came out today. Tomorrow, that's going to be a big day for kind of data points, as well as Sunday evening. So that will obviously affect Monday. But today, there really wasn't that much associated to NIO, so no press releases. Since my last video, this did come out. So it looks like NIO is expecting next week for there to be a pretty big delivery milestone of the ES8, so 30,000. So pretty good stuff as far as that. Market generally does really look favorably on this type of update. So demand as well as more launches. So that could be one attributing factor why you saw NIO kind of move higher today. Plus at the same time though, there was this that did come out, a lot of articles as well. So most likely that was kind of the attributing factor that really pushed NIO higher. Because of that 38 million, you still didn't see that much in actual institutional transactions. So still getting moved through algorithmic trading. And as I've mentioned in the past, it doesn't really take that much. It just takes a tweet, an article, or something just to get AI start to really push NIO and other stocks higher. And so ultimately this came out, a lot of different variations of this, but major automakers say China poses a clear and present threat to US auto industry. And interestingly enough, yesterday, so on December the 10th, you did have Lucid CEO, I believe it was at the 53rd annual NASDAQ investor conference or whatever, something like that. But he actually, for whatever reason, felt the need to really hit China. So he kind of called out Chinese automakers, saying that he believes none of them are actually making any money. So that one kind of stood out to me. Very, very odd. So I think just based on everything, it makes sense that America is afraid of China. And this is why, in general, I think Canada, in my opinion, I think that's kind of the most recent update that a country that's going to be lowering their tariffs. That's why Canada is opening up its borders to Chinese EVs. And I believe that should be coming in the first Q1 2026. So let me know your general thoughts on that. Do you think that the Americans have a good, valid reason to be afraid of China? I know from a technology standpoint, Chinese definitely, and plus even just production, like massive amount of production can be had in China. The only problem is basically nobody really, especially due to tariffs, like China can't really mass ship out all of their stuff to currently the States, Europe, and Canada, and many other places. So they pretty much have to look within, and there's only so much demand. So I think it's just a absolute bloodbath in China. So if, let's say, China EVs were kind of compared to American one-on-one, there'd be like no argument whatsoever. So I think in general, this is something just to kind of monitor. And most likely this is why, again, I know I went kind of long explanation, but this is probably why NIO did move higher today. Aside from that though, looking at shorts, they did return 318,000 shares, 11.19% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 154.93 million shares overall are being shorted. DTC being 2.53 days does signal that shorts are fairly overextended still. One thing as well that could be attributing why it's going higher is just NIO experiencing lower volume. So because again, DTC does factor in the average volume for NIO in comparison to number of shares being shorted. And lately shorts haven't done anything at all. So if you go, the average is dropping, then of course the DTC will go higher. It's just a formula behind the scenes. Aside from that, 3.19 million in calls, 2.2 in puts, and then 47% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around 5 to 550 going into business by the end of tomorrow. And then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 5. With tomorrow being Friday as well, just take a mental note of this. So this is the open interest. You have 1,000 at the 450, 8,000 at the 5, 18,000 at the 550. Then I think it's fair to assume that we won't be seeing the 6 and above. But just let me know your general thoughts on that. And on a side note, I've actually received quite a few comments over the last couple of videos to kind of explain a lot of the data. And I know each of these videos, I try and make it roughly around like 7 to 8 minutes, and I give a lot of information all at once. Usually I leave it for you guys to kind of room for interpretation. You guys can see kind of how things are and what big money is actually doing behind the scenes. But if you ever do want some further explanation, let me know in the comments below on kind of what specific type of information you want, whether that be breaking down some of these numbers, what shorts do and why this is even important, or if it's options. So let me know your thoughts on that. Again, I kind of showed this briefly. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market. Both of them were buys, and it looks like one was at the beginning and one was near the end of the day during power hour. 414,000 then 165. These are all the transactions that did occur on the dark pool. Dark pool is often enough used by shorts and as well hedge funds. With it closing at 513, it was able to successfully get above and close above. That's more important than anything, is closing above it, above this pivot point. So 507 is going to be a support level that you really want to watch for it to now hold tomorrow. And this is something as well I did mention over the last couple of videos, is that Friday we were going to see a pinch because this 10-day moving average, so this white line, and this 200-day moving average, they are converging. So essentially tomorrow we're going to see a pinch, whether that be pushing higher or potentially lower. As I mentioned, I kind of felt that it was going to be the latter, that it was going to be a little bit higher. And so far we did close today above both that 10 and also 200-day moving average. So things are looking pretty good. Of course, tomorrow there's not really that much in data points. So a lot of the Chinese data is coming out in the PM. So I think it's going to be more of a technical driven day. So just watch for shorts to be a little bit active tomorrow. As well as stochastic RSI is relatively overbought. So that ultimately means that a negative data point coming out, you could see some kind of consolidation. Aside from all of that though, even looking at the market position, you see kind of groups of sellers, willing sellers, but all NIO needs is a nice gentle push, whether that be from actual institutions buying or algorithmic trading, and then you could kind of see a nice recovery. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Are you buying? Are you selling? Kind of what's your general thoughts on NIO? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid on-point day trades, swing trades, even a lot of the ones I did signal yesterday, last night. For day trades, they went up a solid amount. I think even one or two of them went up about 50-60%. So yeah, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. Link in the description below and also the comments. And with all that, you guys have a good rest of the day.